Tonight on the Beaver News, reporter Hayden Wilcox takes us back to Cooper Ferry for our second part of our series.
What do hardcore gamers do when they're together? Tonight we'll find all about LAN parties.
We're here at the LaSalle Stewart Center for the Chinese cultural performance presented by the Henan Museum of China. I'm Hayden Wilcox, and we'll have more on that on tonight's episode of the Beaver News.
Good evening and welcome to your Wednesday night edition of the Beaver News. I'm Anna Singer.
And I'm Brooke Chrisler. We're glad you could join us this evening. A happy ending to an otherwise frightening story as a young boy has reunited with his family after having been through a traumatic experience. At around 8 a.m. this morning, an Amber Alert was activated in Oregon. Police say 5-year-old Skylar Meldon Counselor Jardine was kidnapped after a man broke into his home in the Dalles. Police reported that the boy was taken from his home at 5:40 a.m. after suspect Brian Lester DePriest assaulted a member of the household with a hammer. However, at 9:30 a.m., the police was pleased to report that the boy is safe and has been returned to his home. The suspect, DePriest, is currently in custody.
After recent events in Newtown, Connecticut, many schools are taking extra precautionary measures against potential gun threats. As of yesterday, 3 Albany schools went into lockdown at a playground. Staff at Lafayette Elementary School saw 2 young men at a nearby park holding what looked to be weapons. Upon the report, police recommended that Lafayette and neighboring schools Oak Elementary and Calipoya Middle School also begin lockdown protocols. All 3 schools remained on lockdown from 11:40 a.m. until nearly 1 p.m. when authorities deemed the area secure. All 3 schools were pleased to report that no one was injured and that the alert turned out to be a false alarm.
And while we're on the subject of firearms, Oregon State has begun buckling down on the firearm regulation. Recently, the Oregon State Board of Education moved to prohibit firearms on campus. Anyone who wishes to carry concealed firearms in Oregon must now meet special qualifications and carry a permit with them at all times. Currently, both the pistol and rifle clubs at OSU provide information and training for those with or without a background in firearms. On the efforts of the safety trainings, head coach of Pistol Club, Jordan Jones, had this to say, quote, "We provide a really good, safe learning environment, and we have a perfect safety record," end quote. Nicole Miller, president of the Rifle Club, explained that anyone who wishes to join their organization must go through a 30-minute training program before being able to use any of their equipment, and that this program is intended to promote safe use of firearms within designated areas.
This Saturday, the ISOSU will be hosting My Big Fat Hmong Wedding in the MU Ballroom. The night will include cultural performances that will include singing, dancing, a fashion show, a role play of their traditional weddings, and a traditional meal prepared for 290 guests. This is a free event and open to the public, and doors will be open at 5:30. Be advised that once capacity is reached, doors will close to walk-ins. And speaking of cultural performances, last Thursday, the LaSalle Stewart Center was pleased to present an ancient Chinese cultural performance presented by the Henan Museum of China. Beaver News reporter Hayden Wilcox has a story.
This last Thursday, the LaSalle Stewart Center was honored to present a Chinese cultural performance from the Henan Museum of China.
The music department has a long-standing relationship with Henan province, and this is another aspect of that relationship.
OSU is lucky. A performance like this is extremely rare.
These performance groups don't perform outside of China very often at all, so it's very unusual to see them in the United States.
I liked how they showed off the instruments at the beginning. It was an interesting way to do that.
The songs performed at this cultural assembly were played on replicas of instruments found buried in tombs of the Henan province of China. Historical evidence tells us that some of these instruments were created as far back as 7,000 years ago. But the crowd favorite of the evening?
The Kung Fu, yeah.
A demonstration by Shaolin Kung Fu martial artists.
I'd have to say the mid-time was the best part of my time.
It's pretty cool.
At the end of the performance, audience members were allowed on stage to see what history sounded like up close. And the overall consensus for the show?
It was awesome.
This has been Hayden Wilcox for the Beaver News.
And like Hayden explained, some of those instruments are from as far back as 1000 BC. Oregon State is very lucky to be honored with such a presentation, and it's a shame that there weren't more performances.
On Tuesday, a collision occurred on Northwest 5th Street near Polk Avenue involving two cars. Police reported that the collision happened when a black Toyota 4Runner heading north on 5th Street attempted to make a left turn into the Corvallis apartment parking lot when suddenly the vehicle was struck by a blue Ford pickup. The 4Runner was left resting on the driver's side in the southbound lane of 5th Street, but luckily both drivers were unharmed. Currently, the Corvallis Police Department is investigating the crash and both damaged vehicles were towed away.
You may have noticed yesterday that 3 jellyfish have taken up residence in the MU Quad. These jellyfish were made by Waste Watchers, a recycling group on campus, who are launching Recyclemania Challenge this week in order to promote recycling at OSU. These jellyfish were constructed from recycled materials including old umbrellas, packing materials, and shrink wrap. The Waste Watchers met in the recycling warehouse Thursday evening to drink hot cocoa as they untangled the shrink wrap, attached it to the wooden base, and stapled twisted up pieces to umbrellas to create the final product. Recyclemania is a recycling challenge in which colleges and universities will compete all term, so look out for more events as they occur, including a repair fair on Monday the 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. in the recycling warehouse.
Yesterday might have been his birthday, but OSU's 2-week remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. isn't over until Friday. This year marks the 31st annual celebration of Dr. King at OSU, making it one of the oldest continuous MLK events in the state. The theme of this year's observance is Reclaiming the Revolutionary Dream. According to the Office of Equality and Inclusion here at Oregon State, the event is intended to, quote, provide opportunities for our community to learn about and reflect on the life and legacy of Dr. King. Let's take this moment to pivot to our Cooper's Ferry Archaeology series. Tonight we are continuing video in an investigative series produced by Beaver News reporter Hayden Wilcox. Hayden was able to travel with Associate Professor of Archaeology Dr. Lauren Davis for the summer for an inside look at what it means to be an archaeologist. This reporter was supported by the OSU and the Bureau of Land Management.
Now that the Cooper's Ferry Archaeological Field School has been set up, it's time to get in the dirt.
In my hand, I have the tool that we're going to use the most in our excavation, and that's a trowel. We can sharpen the edge on one side to give us this ability to dig dirt very easily. And we also use a brush, and the brush is also used to just simply sweep up the dirt after we've excavated it. We put it into a dustpan, and that goes into a bucket. All that dirt will go to the screen, and they're going to look for anything that I've missed when I'm excavating. So we will trowel away 10 centimeters of sediment at a time. We want to do an interval kind of excavation because we want to be able to separate out each part of the site from each other to talk about the youngest part of the site versus the oldest part of the site.
Once the ground has been broken, hands and minds alike dive into the ancient earth with simple yet specialized techniques.
I think we got a big piece of big chert flake here that would have been struck off a big core and then making stone tools. So this would have been part of a bigger piece that they struck off here, and then this fell to the ground, and along with all these other pieces that they eventually didn't use.
The soft sand easily gives way to yield its treasures to those who have passion and careful hands.
The students will pass the dirt they've excavated from their units into a set of screens. And we'll use water in order to wash the dirt away. The things that we can find with wet screening include very fragile items, things that wouldn't necessarily show up if you're processing the dirt by dry screening it.
But yeah, see, like a lot of this, we got that over here and all over the place. What do you think? It's just streaky.
Yeah.
So this is a projectile point that I just found in the screen.
And students armed with a sharp eye begin to see the past unfurl in front of them as they begin to bring together pieces of this prehistoric puzzle.
It's still really cool. Dr. Davis estimates it's about 3,000 to 5,000 years ago.
This is Hayden Wilcox reporting from Cooper's Ferry for the Beaver News.
We will be continuing to run this segment every night, Monday through Thursday, with coverage of different subjects every night. Tune in tomorrow as Hayden shows us what kinds of tools archaeologists use and what the process of excavation is. Feeding the world and enhancing the prosperity of small local farmers is something that can have a great effect on our society. But what kind of effect does it have on the rest of the world? Well, this Thursday at 7 p.m., the Lachelle Stewart Center will be presenting Food for Thought. Special guest Prabhu Pingali will be giving a lecture on the efforts of the first Green Revolution. Pingali is the Deputy Director of the Agriculture Development at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He will be lecturing on increasing global food supply and reducing poverty located at the Lachelle Stewart Center.
There are many opportunities for students here at Oregon State, from community outreach and volunteering to taking part in schools and, yes, even gaming. Last weekend, Beaver News reporter Dan Felder went for an inside look at what it means to be a gamer at the OSU Gaming Club's LAN party.
So could you tell us all the awesome stuff that's happening right now? Well, out there, we've got LAN party going on, a bunch of computers and all that.
Up on the big stage, we're projecting out this screen.
There's another room on the far end, and we've got console games playing in there. We had a huge Smash turnout last night. The room we're in now, they like board games and card games and stuff. That's what we were doing here last night, and we were packed. What are they raffling for? Tons of prizes. We have, keyboards, graphics cards, sometimes processors, motherboards, everything to make computers. What are the most popular games here?
League of Legends and Dota 2.
How long have you been awake? 20 hours straight?
Upwards to 40.
How many people are here? 230, 240? So it's like gamer mecca, right? Oh yeah.
If you're the kind of person who's interested in emerging rock music, then you may be interested in KBVR FM's A Taste of Weird, a winter rock concert. This is a show presenting local bands from Portland for one night only show this Friday at 7 p.m. Tonight on the show, we are having special guest Emily Berkeley to talk about the event. Emily, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
So what does A Taste of Weird actually mean?
A Taste of Weird is essentially KBVR FM's brand. We're a college radio station, and we have freedom that other corporate radio stations don't have. And so all of the music you hear on there is either underground, local, or just really individualistic. So we're essentially weird.
Awesome.
And what kind of show can people expect to see?
This Friday night at 6:30, doors open in the International Forum in Snell Hall on campus here, and it's going to be a rock show. It's going to be Manx, Ninja Turtle, Ninja Tiger, and A Happy Death.
Great.
So yeah, it should be a fun time, and it's free for anyone who wants to go.
Free is always great.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Emily. Well, that's all the news we have for you tonight. I'm Anna Singer.
And I'm Brooke Chrisler.
Be sure to join us tomorrow night for another episode of the Beaver News at 7 p.m. right here on Channel 26.